All right, guys, welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. Here's I'm Franklin, and I hope you had a great New Year. Glad to be back. But before we get into the Harrison Bader and all that other stuff that's been going on, Victor, how you doing?
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm doing great. Off to the new year, starting off strong. Got my goals in place for 2024, and I hope the Mets do too. So, let's hope that we have big aspirations for 2024 because it sure didn't seem like it at the end of 2023.
Well, and just with that said, I think they do have goals. I think they've kind of said it from the beginning. If they didn't get Yamamoto, this offseason was going to look totally different. And I think with the Harrison Bader, we're seeing that because with the sign of Harrison Bader, I don't know how you feel, but um, I kind of I like it because here's the thing what I like about it, and it's not about Harrison Bader. One, he he officially moves Nimmo to left field, because he's the better center fielder, and there's no doubt about that. He's a better center fielder than Nimmo is, and so that officially moves Nimmo to center field. I mean to left field, and you know what that means? He's a 1 year contract. That means the door is open. That if Gilbert is knocking on the door, Gilbert is coming up. Come on. This is what you wanted. You wanted to see if the kids will play, right? This is an example of if the kids are ready to play, he's going to play because Harrison Bader, guess what? Nice defensive player, but he doesn't provide a lot of offense, right? So and he's on a 1 year contract. So what does that mean? If Gilbert's ready by June, July, he's coming up. What do you think?
I think you had some good points there. And I think this is a good move for the Mets overall. I'll just get that out the way and say that first because what I'm going to say next isn't going to be as nice because I don't think that the Mets needed to pick him up this year because Drew Gilbert was coming. You talk about him replacing Brandon Nimmo in center field, and I think that's great. I think that it's great that we can have somebody that has a better arm that can make better defensive plays out there. Not saying that Brandon Nimmo was bad by any sense of the word, because he actually was one of the better center fielders out there this year defensively. But you know, Harrison Bader's just better, and so that means he's going to switch over to left, most likely, more than likely. But I think that also creates a clog in the Mets lineup or in the Mets um, kind of overall outfield because now we have Marte, who has coming back from injury and could be better than he was last year. And you have DJ Stewart, who was going to try out again this year. He had a good end of the year to the 2023 season, um, but now he's probably not going to get that opportunity to show out again. You have Joey Wendell, or no, not Joey Wendell, Tyrone Taylor, who's out there as well, who's probably in the same category as Harrison Bader defensively. I could see them switching on and off, playing out there in the field because their numbers are similar. It's not like Harrison Bader is the offensive power that we needed. It's not like he's providing that average that we needed either. He's right around average, and when it comes to to the play he brings offensively, this was only a defensive move, and we see Stearns talk about that over and over that he wants to pick up these players that are defense first because his philosophy is all about run prevention. And so that's what I see with this move. But I think it also creates a clog because if Drew Gilbert doesn't do as well defensively in AAA because that's where he'll start, then I could see us not bringing him up, and uh, it would be him being in center field, right? He would have to play center field, and that's a tough position to play. And so I don't see him coming up sooner now because we picked up Harrison Bader, and that scares me.
And this is one of those things where, in the Who's Right podcast, you get to comment. Let me know how you feel. Put your comments on there. I don't feel like Harrison Bader is going to block anybody because he is what he is. He's a defensive player first. And so I'm not worried about it. Drew Gilbert, if he starts raking in AAA, they're high on Drew Gilbert. This is evident of that. I'm not worried about all the other guys because at the end of the day, they're fourth, fifth outfielders, bench guys, regardless. Just like Harrison Bader. Bader is a fourth outfielder with a little bit more you know, um, history of being a starter. But at this point in the career, he's a fourth outfielder, and so he's not going to stop Gilbert. If Gilbert's ready, Gilbert's coming, and this is the prime example of that. Because a 1 year, $10 million contract, that's nothing. You know what I mean? That's not going to stop anybody, and so I'm not worried about that. But I'd like to hear from y'all. Victor feels like we're gonna it's gonna be a log jam, and I don't. I don't think it's preventing that. I think this move actually says it's not. But let me hear from you. Tell us who's right. Victor's right. I'm right. What's your opinion? Let me know in the comments. But
Yeah.
we still didn't get another picture though.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, before we move on to the pitcher side, I just wanted to say one last thing. At the end of the day, this isn't a bad move. This is a good move for the Mets because we're filling in a hole that we needed. We talked about last time where we needed a left fielder that wasn't a going to be an everydayer, and it looks like Harrison Bader could be that everydayer. But I will say, if we go out and pick up any more infielders this year, like I know that there's still talks of going to pick it up Joe Urshela. That I don't that I would be more upset about than this move because we really don't need a Gio Urshela type on this team. And we talked about creating log jams. It seems like our bench is filling up with all these pieces that are very similar. And the last thing I'll say is that it looks like we're probably not picking up Jorge Soler anymore. And that kind of stinks because there were talks about him getting only a 2-year deal. And if he was getting a 2-year deal, I think the Mets would have taken that. But now that we have an outfielder that we picked up an outfielder and kind of filled that hole in left field. Not saying that he would have played that, but I just don't think David Stearns is going to pick up just a DH. I think he's going to try to fill that internally. But who knows? And it might give more chance for Mark Vientos to play.
Well,
Um,
and that's the thing because at the end of the day, so this doesn't stop us signing from Soler because Soler doesn't play the field much anymore. So he would be just a DH for the most part. Even though he can go out there, he's not. That's not why we're signing him. We would sign him to be that DH, and that. But at the end of the day, we talked about it the last video. We want to see the youngsters play. Whoever doesn't win the third base job, like to see it at DH, right? Most likely, Vientos, because at the end of the day, I don't know what future Vientos has, but if we put him on the bench or send him down to AAA, guess what? It doesn't help his trade value because nobody's wanting to trade for him. If not, they've already would have traded for him.
yeah,
We had a chance to trade him a couple years ago when we picked up, you know, uh, I don't even remember if we had even had a chance to trade him when we picked up Ruff and stuff like that. Maybe I'm misspeaking there, but at the end of the day, right now his trade value is what it is. It's not going to get better because we already know he rakes in AAA, right? We already know. Everybody already seen it. So if they're going to trade for him, it's because of what he's already done in AAA. So his trade value is what it is. He's not. It's not going to get better. The only way it does get better if he performs in the major league level.
yeah,
And this goes back to what we were talking about before: is let's see what we have because
yeah,
if Viento's not part of the future, put him in a package somewhere and send him somewhere else, right? If he is part of the future, we'll give him a chance to prove that, right? And if he might prove that he's not just by not performing. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we need to find out about Vientos. As
Yeah,
much as I like Soler, as much I didn't want the old guys, Martinez or Turner. I didn't want those old guys, regardless. I was interested in Soler. I would have liked that. But as much as I like Soler, we got to see what Vientos is. At this point, we didn't get Yamamoto. We're not going to go after Monty, from what I'm hearing. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with that. I mean, I wouldn't mind going after Monty. That way, next year we don't have to sign so many pitchers. Monty will be signed, and we got a middle of the rotation pitcher. Because at the end of the day, Quintana is going to be a free agent next year. So it's either, we're going to have holes in the rotation next year because people are going to be gone. And so if we do sign a Monty this year, he kind of solves that issue of not having to only having have to go after one of the best pitchers next year, not
yeah,
two or three or whatever. And hopefully they sign Woodruff, this year on kind of those 2-year deals that they don't get anything this year, but they get everything next year, kind of deal. But at the end of the day, let's get back to Vientos before we get to the pitching. We're not gonna be competing the way we were going to compete with Yamamoto, right? We're going to still try to win, but at the end of the day, we're not going to be all out World Series or bust kind of mode where let's see the kids play. Let's see what we got. Vientos got to show us what we got. You know what I mean? Either
yeah,
he shows us what we got, and if he can't play in the majors, he'll be a career minor leaguer,
right.
and we'll send him down to AAA. Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
that's the thing. That's the thing. I think at some point, Mets fans in general are gonna have to accept that this is not a World Series chasing year. We're gonna try, absolutely. We're gonna try to win, and we're gonna try to win with 85. We're gonna try to get into the playoffs just barely and see what we got. And that's the kind of year it's going to be. It's not going to be a year where we go out and patch up all the holes that we need to patch up, because that's not what's going to help the Mets long term. And that's what we're talking about here. When David Stearns came on, it was to help the Mets long term. And I think a lot of Mets fans now are kind of uh, still hung up on Steve Cohen coming in and saying that he wanted to win a World Series in the next, what do you say, 4 years?
5 years, the
And
next 5 years.
5 years, and we're coming up on that and next year or 2 years from now, and it's not looking like that that timeline is going to be possible. But Mets fans are kind of hung up on making that still a possibility in their heads and not focusing on the sustainable winning that we're trying to create here in New York. And so I think at the end of the day, I'm not going to be like, I'll preface this by saying I'm not mad that we picked up Harrison Bader, but we started the offseason with me saying I don't want to pick up any more bats because there's a surplus of young guys that are ready to play in the major league level, and we just got to give them a shot. We got to see what they got so that we can either be done with them or we can let them play and shine to the stars that they can be. Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Luis Angel Acuna, Drew Gilbert are all those type of guys that are banging at the door. Um, on the pitching side, not so much. We don't have those pitching prospects that are ready to hit the major leagues just yet. We have some good prospects, but I don't think any analyst would say that they're major league ready. And that's why I say we need to pick up pitching now. That's why I say we need to have at least another pitcher picked up this offseason because, like you said, everybody's coming off the books next year. Quintana's not going to be with us. Um, and I think the only one that's going to be with us is Senga next year. And that's a scary thought. And so if we don't pick up a pitcher, then I think we're going to be in a worse place than if we don't patch up some of the holes we have in our lineup this year. And that's my train of thought at the end of the day.
Yeah, and to speak on that, I think Mauricio kind of changed things. You know what I mean? Because yes, he was going to be competing for third base job. But if he lost that third base job, guess what was going to happen? He was going to move to second, and McNeil was going to move to left. And I think when he got hurt, it kind of changed. I think that's why we signed a Bader, to be honest with you. It wasn't because we were looking for that outfielder. I think it was because Mauricio got hurt, and it kind of removed McNeil because McNeil now is going to be our second baseman. There is no question about it.
Well,
You
there's
know,
still a possibility to trade him and then bring up Luis Angel to play that position at the start of the year. I know he might not be exactly ready, but if this is a year that the Mets are trying things out, then it might not be a bad idea.
and who knows? Luis Angel, was all right in Double A, but when he came over, he wasn't as impressive as the numbers showed. Him in, so who knows? The next guy that might be coming up, and that's why Luis Angel, I'm not too keen on him coming up right away because I think he still needs a full season, and by then it might be a competition between him and Jet Williams, for that job. And so, the guy that's coming up next, the only guy that I see coming, that can be coming is Drew Gilbert, and I think this is one of those things that because of signing Bader, Drew, it kind of closes the door on McNeil going to left and opens the door for Gilbert to make some noise if he's ready. You know what I mean? And so I think that's Mauricio injury kind of changed our kind of what we were going to do in the offseason. Because I know that they were expecting him to be a bat, whether it be a third or a second. They were going to expect him to be in the lineup, and now we don't have that. So I think that's what happened. But we do got to get on to pitching. You know what I mean? We lost one of the targets that I again right after we got off, either the next day or hours after we got off the next time. Lucas Giolito signed by Boston, and then Boston goes on and trades Sale to Atlanta. That's a target that I wanted. I was hoping, but not. To be honest with you, not at 20 million. I wasn't a big fan of that because who knows what he's going to bring, and for we already got Severino for that. And I think Severino has more upside than Giolito, and so I'm okay with not getting him. I think Stearns is being smart. He's not just giving the money away because, like you were just talking about, all the fans are saying it's not my money, blah blah blah, do whatever whatever. And guess what? At some point, Cohen is gonna say, "I don't want to spend this money like I'm spending." You know what I mean? So let's be smart about it. Let's think logically about it. At some point, Coleman is going to be like, enough's enough. I don't want to be losing money. And honestly, I don't want to get to that point because I want to get to the point where he's spending money because we're consistently winning, right? I want to get to the point where he's not giving up $40 million to get rid of a pitcher because our season was lost, right? He's going to stop doing that. He's basically said as much, that he doesn't want to be losing money just because. So all these fans that keep saying it's not my money, get players, just sign this guy for whatever reason, so we can say we signed somebody. I'm not for that because at some point Cohen's gonna say enough's enough. Either you get it right, or I'm not spending any more money.
Yeah. No, yeah, and that's what we were talking about at the beginning when we were talking about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We were like, he's not. I don't think that Cohen should blow every other team out the water because that's not what we're trying to build here, And it's cool and Yamamoto was that exception, but it's not that kind of free agent class where we're going to be able to spend on uh 25 million on a third line starter, which was probably what Giolito is kind of projected to be. He's, he could be a second and third line starter, and he got $20 million, where usually they'll get 15 around 15 million for that caliber of pitcher. That pickup didn't really, hurt me that much. I wasn't really a big fan of Giolito. I was more kind of nervous on the side of what Boston did next and trading Chris Sale to the Atlanta Braves, because that's a dangerous rotation now with Chris Sale being over there. If he stays healthy, then they do have something good over there.
And he signed a 2-year extension today.
And he signed a 2-year extension. And so this is a classic Atlanta Braves move. They traded away a player that which we talked about on the Friends of the NL East, and Trent Grisham, that they didn't want, and got a starter that basically replaced who went over to Oakland. It doesn't matter. But they filled out the rotation, and now they're looking pretty scary with those top three starting pitchers if they can stay healthy. And
Yeah,
so
no, for sure. Absolutely. And and that's kind of the playbook I'm looking at for McNeil. I wouldn't mind seeing a McNeil trade. We haven't touched on this, but Narvaez, they're open to trading Narvaez. And, coupling, Narvaez with a Vientos, with a McNeil somewhere for a pitcher wouldn't be a bad thing. I don't know what teams, I can't think off the top of my head what teams need a catcher. And you put in a Vientos or a McNeil in that package for a starting pitcher. I I would love to see that, to be honest with you. I don't know what teams that is though. It's got to be a somewhat of a contender or a team that thinks they're about to contend,
yeah,
that needs a catcher, offensive minded catcher in a way. But
I'm
you know,
thinking teams like Texas, like the Rays, like those kinds of teams, I think are in need of catchers. The Padres, even if they're trying to contend, they had a big hole in the catcher um, role this year, and if we can get um, someone back in return that would benefit the Mets, then that might not be bad. Like if we could get, I know this is then it might be a stretch, but like a Yu Darvish or Joe Musgrove over here for a package of Jeff McNeil and Omar Narvaez, and that might not be a bad deal. Obviously, they've got that second base role kind of filled out, but it's still a possibility. I'm interested to see where that goes, because that means that Tomas Nido is coming back up and going to be sharing that role with Francisco Alvarez, and I like Tomas Nido, and although Omar Narvaez is a good catcher, he's not he's I think a better starting catcher on another team, because he proved that he could be a starter, and so. And we already know that Francisco Alvarez is playing that role this year for the Mets. And so, I don't hate that trade. I'd like to see where things go. Because like you said earlier, this free agent class is kind of getting out of control in the pitching sense. It feels like this free agent class is mostly for teams that are contending this year, teams that are looking to win it all, or at least compete to win it all this year. Where Jordan Montgomery might be getting a 6-year deal at 25 million, which is crazy because he's one of those that is like a second, third tier starter. And that's like, second, first tier money, which is uh Yeah, just crazy. But that's one that I might not hate because he's one of those pitchers that is consistent and provides consistent innings. But at this point, it seems like the Mets need to shift their focus into looking into the trading market instead of the free agent class because these guys are becoming too expensive on not much return. And so one guy that is a free agent that I wouldn't mind seeing the Mets pick up that is a little controversial, and I might get some hate for saying this. So I think that the Mets should at least talk to a guy like Trevor Bauer because you
No,
know,
no,
no,
no.
let's hear me out though. Because this guy contended or he won the NL Cy Young with a 1.73 ERA in 2020. And then he came back the next year and pitched to a 2.59. Uh, this is a guy that can provide innings. He's on a consistent, when he's healthy, 170 innings a year, and he's got some good stuff. I mean, he was over pitching in the Japanese MPB this year, uh, and he's just if we're giving guys 1 year deals, why not give Trevor Bauer a 1 year deal? See where he plays out. You don't have to give him that much money because no one else is interested in him, and we need pitching. And this is
No.
a good pitcher that can get us over the hump, and I think might complete our offseason.
Here's the problem. Here's the thing. Forget the baseball numbers. He's going to bring too much chaos to the team, and that for that reason alone. One, I don't think he's a good person. Two, he's going to bring. I don't think he's going to be good for the locker room. And three, the New York media is going to be all over it, so it's going to be a circus. So I just gave you three reasons why we shouldn't. It's not worth the hassle. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it. He might pitch well, but he's just not worth it. One, I don't. I first my first reason, he's not a good person, so I don't think they should sign him just on that. Two, he's not a good teammate, and three, he's just going to bring the circus, and we're tired of the Met circus, right? We always talk about the Met circus, and that for me, that's a no go. We're trying to create a different culture here, and Bauer's not part of that culture. But I'll let you guys decide. This is another one where you tell us who's right. You think we should sign Bauer? Put in the comments. You agree that he's just a bad juju for the clubhouse and just going to mess things up even more because at the end of the day we do have a problem in the locker room. Tommy Pham said as much, and so and that's one of the reasons why I want to shake it up with the trade with McNeil. We just want to shake up that locker room, change some pieces around, get the right vibe in that locker room, get the right pieces. And Bauer's not it, no.
Look, at the end of the day, Trevor Bauer is a good pitcher. Some of the stuff that he's done and some of the stuff that he said hasn't really translated well. And it's not great. But I'm all about second chances.
I didn't want him
And
in the first go around, so I can't.
no, I know. But now
So
he's gonna come at a cheap
I can't
price.
take him. So I didn't want him the first go around when he was supposedly, a great pitcher.
Well, he was going to be expensive at that time. What did he
Yeah,
sign
and,
to with
and we're
LA?
willing to give it to him, but I didn't want him that go around. Why would I want him now?
He's going to come cheaper,
Don't matter.
and we
It
need
wasn't
him
about the
more.
money. It wasn't about the money. I didn't want Bauer, regardless.
And you don't have to sign him to a long-term deal. He'll
I didn't
take
want him
anything
back
at this
then.
point. Hey, I'm just saying, give the guy a second chance.
It's
I
not
say
about a second. I didn't want to give him a first chance the first go around. I was upset when it was reported that the Mets were going to sign him. I told you I didn't want Bauer. So why would I want him now?
I'm not saying that we're gonna keep him in New York. But if we want to be able to compete this year, we need to pick up another pitcher. And Trevor Bauer, I think, can fit that bill. He can fit the bill of playing our because at the end of the day, let's go through our lineup. We have Koda Singh at the top. We have probably Jose Quintana next. He's probably should be down at 3 or 4. And then you have
Hauser.
Luis Severino. And then you have Adrian Hauser. And that's it. You know, those are all guys that should be at the bottom of the rotation. We need
Yeah,
somebody to
but you
fill out
don't
that
want.
top, especially when we get to playoffs.
No, I
Because if
get that, but you don't want somebody like when we had the Friends of NL East podcast, we said you got to bring the right energy, not just energy just to bring energy. This is the same with Bauer with the pitching. It's not pitching just to bring pitching if he's gonna torpedo your team from the other side. You know what I mean?
I,
It's not worth it.
I don't
It's
know
just
if
not
he
worth
will
it.
though this time around. I
Oh no,
mean,
he's still the same guy. He's still the same guy. He hasn't changed. You saw how his comments were just a few months ago. That he hasn't changed. He's no, he's going to torpedo the team the other way on the other side, and he's just going to sabotage it because that's who he is. No teammate fought for him in LA. That's the type of teammate he was.
Mookie Betts said he wasn't. Mookie Betts vouched for him. He vouched for him, saying that he was. He was deserving of a second shot, and so you
Well,
know,
he can go to LA.
LA don't need him, but
They don't
I'll
need him, but he could go sabotage that team. I'll take that.
I don't know if he'll sabotage the Mets. I think that if you can deal with Max Scherzer, you can deal with the Trevor Bauer type.
Nah, different type, different type, different type. But I do agree with you that yeah, um, different type, different energy. Same thing as we talked about Spark with the Friends of the NL East podcast. Um, it's a different energy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not the same. Bauer's energy and Scherzer's energy are different. You can't put those two together. You don't want to just bring energy just to bring energy. For that, for bringing a Bauer, sign Ryu. Ryu's out there. I'd rather see Ryu get signed by the Mets and take a flyer on Ryu and than sign a Bauer. If he wants a potential spark. Because when Ryu's healthy, he's a good pitcher. So go sign Ryu if you want to bring somebody else in. But I'm not bringing in Bauer just because we need a pitcher. But I don't know what else to say. Bauer's out. Get out.
Hey, all I'm saying is I wouldn't be upset because it would fill a hole. But if that hole gets filled by someone else, and we don't have to pay too much money to him or sign him to a crazy long deal, then I will be happy with that. I'm just trying to troubleshoot and try to see what would work best for the Mets because right now it's looking like we're patching up holes that we don't need to, and I want to see the Mets sign a pitcher. That's at the end of the day, I want to see the Mets pick up a pitcher or trade for a pitcher. You know, let's see some more action. I know it's still early, but it's not too early to ever be talking in terms of the trade market. And there are a lot of teams that are trying to unload their payroll. And so, teams like we talked about, San Diego, they've got to unload. Like the White Sox, they're trying to unload too. And so um,
Well, I mean, the White Sox are asking for too much. That's why Cease hasn't been moved. I think they're asking for three top prospects, which we don't have. We're not going to give up three top prospects. And let me rephrase that. We have them. We just not going to give them up because that's giving up Luis Angel Acuna, Gilbert, and another one, and we ain't going to do that for Cease. I like Cease, but we're not giving up the farm uh, for a pitcher right now, especially when the free agent class next year is loaded.
well,
But
forget them then. The Mariners, I hear, are trying to sell some pitchers off if we can get Luis Castillo over here, that'd be amazing, you
Yeah.
know? And
I'll take any one of those Mariners pitchers. Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, but it's just getting to talking about the moves that the Mets haven't made makes me bring up guys like Bauer and makes me bring up guys that will try that I can see filling the role. And
You
at the
bringing
end
up
of the day,
Bauer is like other Met fans talking about it's not my money.
nah,
It doesn't work. It doesn't
no, no,
fit.
no.
But hey guys, we're gonna end it there. Again, like, subscribe, comment, let us know how you feel. Turn on that notification button. You know, who's right? We had a difference of opinion today, kind of changed it up on y'all. So let me know what you think. But before we get out of here, Victor, any last words?
No, let's set some goals for the Mets in 2025. 20, I almost said 25, 24. Let me not get ahead of myself. And
Yeah.
same to y'all. Keep to your goals and keep on pushing to better yourselves as well. So we'll see you guys next time.
All
Let's go
right.
Mets.
Let's go, Mets.